Good evening all. Welcome to another episode of Saturday series. Today's topic is Civil Engineers, the Nation Builders. We are having Dr. A R Vijayanarayanan, who currently serves as the Assistant Professor in the Department of Civil Engineering at Amrita School of Engineering, Coimbatore. He completed his doctoral studies from IIT Madras and his master's from IIT Kanpur. As a part of his academic commitment, he has co-authored 3 books on India's earthquake safety. His areas of interest include understanding the behavior and design of building and non-structural elements during seismic action. Before getting into the session, if you have any queries relating to this topic, you can just type it in our chat box and we will discuss it after this session. Without further ado, I would like to welcome A.R. Vijayanarayanan sir to deliver today's session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. So it gives me immense pleasure, leaders of our country. I thank the admissions department for giving me this opportunity. And I also thank the parents for joining this meeting. So I am A.R. Vijayanarayanan. I serve as Assistant Professor in the Department of Civil Engineering. So today we'll look at the topic which is invitation to build India better and stronger. Through this presentation, I invite the young minds to build India better and stronger. So here is the outline of the talk. So I'll start with the introduction. Then we'll look at the past, present and the future of civil engineering. And then we'll understand how civil engineering is unique compared to all other branches. We'll talk about a little bit on the opportunities and the challenges in civil engineering. Then we look at how civil engineer is a good career option. And finally, we'll conclude with the reasons to join Amrita. Okay. Now, in your 4th standard, 5th standard, you would have studied about the wonders of the world, right? There are several wonders of the world. And these wonders are built by civil engineers, right? You have the Great Wall of China, you have a Taj Mahal. Now you might say that, sir, these are all old wonders and these are built long back. So how about new wonders? Yes, we do have new wonders. Now the Statue of Unity, which is built in Gujarat, this statue is around 300 meters tall. And for example, the room you might be staying in will be around 3 meters tall. So if you look at this statue, it is equivalent to a 100-story building. Now imagine that when you stand in front of the statue, you look like tiny ants, right? And this is a tunnel which has been bored into the mountain, and this tunnel is the Rohtang tunnel, Atal tunnel, which is in Rohtang, which connects Leh and Manali. Now this tunnel is unique because it cuts the travel time by 4 hours. And it is at the elevation of 10,000 feet. And this tunnel has been given the Guinness World Record, right? So you see civil engineers worked everywhere. And this viaduct, which connects France and Spain, and this is also a unique project because if you see the piers in this viaduct are 100-story tall, which is, it is very equivalent to the statue which we saw earlier. See, we have not only conquered the mountains, the sky, now we have conquered the oceans as well. So this is a very familiar picture, right? This is the Palm Islands in Dubai. So this island has been created from reclaiming the land from sea. So these are the new wonders. Now this is a pretty unique wonder. I'm sure that you will be scratching your head. Sir, what is this? This is just yellow boxes. How do you call it as a wonder? This is actually a wonder because yellow boxes are tide barriers. Now with the climate change around in the next 10 to 50 years, so the sea water will rise. Now in order to prevent the water breaching into the land, we need tidal barriers, right? So this is a unique project which has been carried out in Venice, and this helps to prevent the water coming into ingressing into the land. Now, the question is, are you ready to build the next wonder of the world? I'm sure most of you are interested. So I'll invite you to join civil engineering. Now, let's play a game. This is not an interactive session. So what I would suggest is, can you please think of the first thing that comes into your mind when you think of Paris, London, Sydney, and Tanjore? Yes, I'll give you a few seconds. Have you thought of it? Now, how many of you thought of the Eiffel Tower in Paris, the Brigadishwar Temple in Tanjore, the London Bridge in London, and the Opera House in Sydney? Now, if you thought about it, what does it say? Now, civil engineers build systems that define places, right? In summary, what do civil engineers do? We build wonders of the world and we build systems that define a place, right? Now, with that understanding, let's move on to the past, present, future of the civil engineering. Now, civil engineering started, it's one of the very oldest profession, right? So it started around 2000 to 4000 BC, and our country is proud to host the Harappa civilization. If you see that we have built nice structures as early as 2000 to 4000 BC. Now you can see that they had proper irrigation system, they had proper drainage system. So it was such a wonderful civilization, right? And you can see some of the structures still existing to date, right? And then there is this pyramids which are still existing even after 4000 years. So this was in the Nile Valley, right? Now let's move on to the Roman era. In Roman era saw a great development in civil engineering. The Romans were very good in materials and understanding the behavior of the buildings and structures. So Romans were quite innovative as well. Romans understood that it is not necessary to settle down near rivers. So instead, we can bring water to wherever we are staying. So that is how they constructed miles and miles of structure which carry water from a good source to the place they were living. And these structure is called as a viaduct, and these carry water from the source to the place they are living, and these still exist to date. Now, likewise, Romans were known for building roads, and there are roads which still exist in Italy, Britain, which were built in the Roman era. So they understood transportation is also important. So they made an effort in building roads. Now, if you allow me, I'll keep on talking on the history of civil engineering. For the want of time, let's just skip to the 18th century. So 18th century was the first time when they coined the term civil engineering, and civil engineering was termed as that part of engineering which dealt with civil, that is civilian exercise, which dealt with all things civilian, excluding the military engineering. Okay, so the first college to teach civil engineering was 1747, that started in France. Now, India was also not far behind. We started our own College of Engineering, Guindy, which was a survey institute to begin with and later converted to a civil engineering institute. Our IIT Roorkee was also started in 1847, which was started as a Roorkee Civil Engineering College. Right? So in the pre-independent days, Britishers developed much of our civil infrastructure. They had developed irrigation projects, they had undertaken irrigation projects, they had undertaken railway projects, road projects, and inland waterways and ports. But if you see the pattern of development, the Britishers wanted to take the raw material from interior of India to their country. So irrigation will help them cultivate the cotton crops, and then railways, roadways, and inland waterways will help them transport the raw material from inside the country to the ports, from where it was shipped back to London, right? So this was a pattern of development in prior to independence. So on the right hand side, you can see the railway map of India in 1909. Now post independence, civil engineers were much appreciated and they were much sought after. Now if you ask a great grandfather, any engineer will be either a civil engineer or a mechanical engineer at that period. This is, I'm talking about 60s, 70s and 80s, right? And they were much respected just because of the fact that we are the people, civil engineers were the people to build the nation, right? So one of the most celebrated civil engineer, Sri Vishweswaraya, his birthday is commemorated as the Engineers Day, and we all celebrate Engineers Day on his birthday, right? But in the last 4 years, civil engineering has lost some impetus. Now, this is not because civil engineering is bad. It's just that other branches of engineering has caught up and they have started performing very well. And there are other social and economic reasons where, because of which work stagnated, there were delays in civil engineering projects getting completed. So in the 90s, there was economic liberalization, but that liberalization did not help civil engineers much. And we were wanting for a change. But not all is bad. The future is looking bright and we are seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. This is because the government has understood the importance of civil engineering, the importance of development. So we are still a developing country, right? In order to become a developed country, what is that is required? What is required is to improve the infrastructure and connectivity. So the government is undertaking several key projects such as interlinking river. Now this is to ensure that everybody get access to clean water. We have golden quadrilateral high-speed railways. These are coming up to connect people and transfer goods from one place to the other. Now, in order to ease the regulatory regime, there are some regulatory changes that are coming in through which the consumers, developers and the real estate sector can benefit. So we are not going into the details of it, but this is to highlight the fact that regulatory changes, in addition to the government's initiative, is pushing civil engineering forward in the right direction. So the government also has key policies such as housing for all. Now India is a country of 135 crore people, right? Suppose we have a house of 5 members each, then you need to build 135 divided by 5, which is around 25 crore houses. So imagine that. So there are a lot of houses to be built and you're not going to be jobless anytime soon. See, not only the houses, you need to provide clean water, you need to provide the sewage, you need to provide adequate transportation to these places. So our demands is going to skyrocket in the future. So understanding the importance of the infrastructure development, our country has earmarked 102 lakh crores. Now look at the sum which has been earmarked for the development of infrastructure in the next 5 years, right? So that is humongous. Now, when people say that civil engineering is declined, don't believe them, right? Just say them that if this much amount is going to be spent on civil engineering, there is no wonder that development will happen and civil engineers will have sufficient job and sufficient challenges in the future as well, right? Now, if you look at this particular year also, we have 1 lakh crore, which is provision for structure for pipeline. The map shows the proposed pipelines which is coming up. This is gas pipelines, right? So the government has also earmarked around 40,000 crores for rural infrastructure development and another 2 lakh crores for building the highways. Now you yourself would have seen, right, when you're traveling from one place to another, these days roads are better and they're easy to travel on. they're not bumpy as they used to be. So this is all thanks to the amount of funding that the government is pumping into the building the road infrastructure. Okay, so we sit at home, we just switch on the lights, fans, and we are sure that you will have lights and the fan running. Now this is because the government is also pumping money into the power and energy infrastructure to transfer the power from the source of production to your home, right? So the government is also spending around 2000 crores on several port projects. So in summary, in the past we have had great days. In the present, we have to agree that we are not having so much of great days. Okay, but the future looks promising. With that, we move on to the next subject to understand why civil engineering is unique. Now, prior to that, let's understand who a civil engineer is. A civil engineer is someone who analyzes, plan, design, construct, and maintain facility for the betterment of society. Well, there is one more definition which is on the right side. A civil engineer is a device that turns coffee into buildings. Right? Both the definitions are right. So all answers are right here. Okay. Now, the general perspective is a civil engineer one who does a mason's job. If you see the right corner, you'll see a mason who's building it. Now, if somebody says that, I would like you to say that, no, we don't do that. What we do is we build houses, offices, industries, we build roads, railway tracks, ports, airports, we control traffic, we provide networks to supply water, we provide networks to drain the sewage, we bring energy to your doorstep, we build dams, tunnels, we address environmental issues, we address climate change, and we map the entire world. Now, this is very different from the perspective that people have, right? So we do a lot of things, right? Now, when somebody says that you are just a mason, just tell them that suppose if you are not there, you will still be living in a cave. And that is quite true, right? Just think about it. Now, in general, civil engineering is a pretty diverse field. Okay, this consists of multiple fields, and let's look at the fields that are associated with civil engineering. Now, any land in which you're going to build your building requires a survey, right? You can't build your structure in your neighbor's property. So surveying is one of the key and the starting point of civil engineering. Okay, not only your own plot, the surveying is done on a larger scale for taking policy decisions. Now, if you have to survey a large scale, these days what has been done is the survey is done using GIS, which is Geographic Information System. So what essentially happens is we take the data from the satellites and then we map different layers. So we have street data, we have building data, we have vegetative data, and then we integrate all of them. Now by doing so we are able to plan the cities better. We can adequately ensure that all the places will have good clean water supply, good clean sewage distribution system, right? So GIS also has gained popularity in the recent past, and many civil engineers are working on such systems. Now, structural engineering is also a quite popular branch in civil engineering department. So in structural engineering, what we do is we analyze the buildings and associated structure to resist the forces that is expected on them. Now we do design of not only the buildings, we do design of bridges, dams, and tunnels, and we also design windmills, right? Then there is another branch of civil engineering called as geotechnical and foundation engineering. This deals with soil. Soil is the foundation of everything. Now, one can equate soil to your parents. You know why? Now, this is because that soil supports everything, like how your parents supports whatever you do, right? So typically, if you have to build a structure, the structure will sustain certain loads, and these loads have to be transferred safely to the soil. And the part of structure which transfers the loads from the building to the soil is called as a foundation. So there are foundation engineers who design this structural element which transfers a load. Okay. Now you've seen that during monsoon season there is landslides, right? We civil engineers are also working towards stabilizing the slopes to ensure there are no landslide. So we are working towards ensuring that there is no landslide in the future as well. Okay. Now there is another aspect of civil engineering called as a construction technology. Now typically we use reinforced concrete or steel for construction of buildings. Now I don't know how many of you know that concrete is a very polluting material. It releases so much of carbon dioxide. So in the recent past we have been trying to identify green materials for the construction of buildings. So this is an ongoing research and this is pretty exciting. So I would invite all of you to join this push towards green technology and green buildings. Now, as you know that with the climate change, our water resources are dwindling and our environment needs a lot of attention and care. Till now, we have been very lethargic about our environment, but in the future, we need to care about it. And we civil engineers have environmental engineering in our syllabus, which looks at the water quality, air quality, and we look at appropriate use of water as a resource material. So we have water resources, which looks into that. And we have environmental impact assessment, which is being done by civil engineering, with the impact of a certain aspect on, like, for example, deforestation on the climate change. Now, as we said earlier, that it is important to finish a project in time, right? Now, to finish a project, now civil engineering projects are by nature very huge, humongous, and they require a lot of resources and a lot of time, right? So what do? We civil engineers not only design buildings, but we should be good in managing resource and time. So a branch of civil engineering which deals with it is called as a construction management. So a construction manager assists the required quantity, schedules the work, ensures that the work is done on time, and also ensure that the site is safe for the construction people who are working there. Last but not the least, transportation engineering is also a very critical and crucial part of civil engineering. Now, our world has become interconnected and intertwined in multiple ways, right? So people are required to travel from one place to another, materials are required to be transported from one place to another, and all these aspects are dealt in detail in transportation engineering. We not only build roads, but we provide solution to the traffic problem that exists, right? Now, in the future, we expect a lot of traffic problem to happen, and we civil engineers are working towards in ensuring there is a smooth flow of traffic at all places. Now let's circle back and answer the question as to why civil engineering is unique. Civil engineering is unique because you have multiple options, multiple diverse fields you can work on, and the bottom line is any field you take in civil engineering, it leads to the betterment of the society. So this is the reason why we consider the civil engineering to be unique. Now let's move on to the next part of the talk. This is to understand whether civil engineering is a good career option. Now, to understand whether civil engineering is a good career option, we need to look at the pros and cons. So, even if you want to buy a TV, you look at the pros and cons of buying a specific brand of TV, right? Just like that, let's look at the pros and cons of civil engineering. The first thing is that the society will never stop to develop. It will keep on developing. When the society needs to develop, there will be a high demand for civil engineers. We have seen this in the past and we will see this in the future as well. Now, civil engineers are considered as a recession-free jobs, right? Now, I want you to please ignore the last 2 years, which is severely hit by COVID. So, other than this, last 2 years, you would have seen that civil engineering, new buildings coming up every day. So, we will have demand all through the year, right? And the other aspect are the civil engineering has a wide range of subject for you to specialize in. Now, depending upon what you're interested in, say environmental, you're concerned about the environmental, you can specialize in environmental. You are interested in do a tunnel engineering. Yes, you can be the next metro man. You can tunnel your way through. And civil engineering projects are of macroscopic view. Typically, if you look at computers and if you look at biological systems, these things are microscopic. But civil engineering, all your projects are macroscopic. You can view them, you can enjoy them. When you cross any of your projects which you built, you can tell that, look, this was built by me. So you can feel the proud moment when you say it to your kids, or when you say it to your grandkids, right? So civil engineering has good traveling opportunities. So civil engineering projects are generally not concentrated at one location. Be a nice opportunity to travel, not only inside the country but around the world as well. Now, typically civil engineering projects are not typecast, which is each project is unique and there are many challenges. So you will have a challenging job, but it is possible that you'll enjoy it much better. Now, civil engineering has given us the freedom to create. We blend the aesthetic as well as the functional value of the buildings. In summary, what civil engineering do is community development. We ensure there is a good transportation system. We ensure clean water supply. We ensure the sewage in your house is being dealt with and properly disposed of. Now, as any branch of engineering, we do have some cons. Now, let's look at these. So, the initial phase after you graduate, you will have to work hard. So, this is true for any branch of engineering for that matter. You can expect long working hours and you can expect a great amount of pressure. Now, great amount of pressure is because you're working on projects of national importance, and more often than not, these projects are massive in scope and budget. Again, for those who are not interested in travel, you might have to do an extensive travel because your projects that you're overseeing might be quite far from the place you stay. Now, if you look at the pros and if you look at the cons, it is very easy to see that the pros outweighs the cons, right? So, after assessing the pros and cons, you've decided to join, let's say you've decided to join civil engineering and you have completed your civil engineering course, undergraduate course. Now, what are the avenues that are available to you? Yes, you can start a new venture. Civil engineering starting a new venture is the most profitable job you can look at. And you can land a government job in railways, airports, port, metro, defense. You can land a PSU job, which is Baba Atomic Research Center, IOCL, GAIL, ONGC, NTPC. So there are many PSUs where you can land a job, and you can join a private sector job as well. See, not only jobs, you can look at higher studies and do research and be an academician too. So there are several fields in which you can do your research, and these fields are listed here, and we have discussed this in the prior slides, so I'm not spending much time on this. So here are some companies where you can join. These are just representative list of companies. By no means these are the end of it. You have several more, but for the sake of highlighting a few companies, we have shown you this. Okay, so civil engineering is a good profession. So the pros outweighs the cons, and then we have good job opportunities also. But personally, how does a civil engineering benefit you? Now, civil engineers are the instrument of development and change. We provide shelter, clean water, and drain sewage. This essentially impacts society in general. We have a steady income and there is a job security. So our projects are massive, so we can show them to our kids and grandkids and feel the pride in creating the projects, creating the building. And civil engineering gives you utmost reward for creativity. So these are the benefits of being a civil engineer. Now let's move on to the final topic, which is the reasons to choose Amrita. Now, Amrita University was established in 2003. In the brief span of 19 years, we have achieved the 5th best university ranking. We have A++ grade in NAAC ranking, and we are recommended as the Institute of Eminence. Now, if you go to the AICTE site, which controls all the engineering colleges, you will be able to see that there are 9,000 engineering colleges. Of the 9,000 engineering colleges, you have only 20 engineering colleges which has been given IOE, which is the Institute of Eminence. Now, if you divide 20 by 9,000, it translates to 0.002. So, which essentially means that Amrita is in the top 0.2% of the engineering colleges. So, even if you take the IITs, you're getting into IITs is the ratio will be much larger, right? So at Amrita, we have understood that good education leads to good practice. Now you may ask, what can we expect from Amrita? We understand that all students are creative and not all students are equal. So we will nurture their creative minds and we'll impart them strong fundamentals. We'll teach them good skills and we'll develop their skills. So we'll introduce them to softwares that are being used in the industry and make them industry ready and employable upon graduation. So we have special training and internship. So we have a student chapter of American Society of Civil Engineers, through which we expose them to not only the Indian standards but also the American standards as well. Now, if the student is interested in pursuing his masters in IITs and ISCs, we give them a GATE, which is a qualifying exam for the master's program in IIT. So we give them GATE training as well. Now, these are something which is related to the classroom teaching, right? So, but what we feel is that we need to bring in the best character out of the student. So we also attempt to bring in the best character of the student. Now to do this, Amrita has a special project called as a Live-in Labs. So Amrita has adopted more than 100 villages. So in these villages, they lack infrastructure, they have water issues, they have transportation issues. So what we do every year is send students to these places to provide a solution which is based on technology and which is workable in this region. By doing so, people are directly benefited from the work which will be done by our students. Now this builds a lot of character into the students and a helping tendency, a shared community value which will be imparted to the student. So moving on, these are the placement record which we have. Which is in the last 3 years, our students have been placed in multiple companies. These are a list of the few companies where our students have been hired. Last but not the least, who we are and where we are is all because of the faculty members and the current and the graduated students. So I say my pranams to all of them and thank the admissions committee again for giving me this opportunity, and I extend a warm welcome and to the students and the parents and encourage the students to take up civil engineering at Amrita. Thank you.
Clearly explained.
Ma'am, you're not audible enough.
Now it's audible.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry, there's a problem. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for the valuable information shared. Really a valuable asset for those aspirants, and that's all about today's session. And thank you everyone for joining us. We'll see you on next Saturday. Till then, it's me, Parvati, signing off.
Thank you.